Hello, welcome to Your City at Work. Today I have a very special guest with me. It's Chief Yates from the Jonesboro Police Department. Chief, how you doing?
Good.
Chief, as a kid, did you ever have dreams of being a policeman? And if so, what made you actually take that step and move towards being a police officer?
Well, to be honest, I really didn't. I kind of fell into law enforcement by accident. I graduated from college with the intent of going to law school, and I got a job offer at a sheriff's department, and at the time, I said, well, heck, it's $1 an hour more than I'm making, so I'll give it a try. And then I did it, and after about 6 months, I was hooked, and I never wanted to do anything else.
Absolutely. Now, you've been with the city for going on about 7 years, and during your tenure, you've had the opportunity to work with some pretty amazing people. How has the police department evolved over your tenure with the city?
Well, we have evolved a good bit in several areas, primarily technology. There's been a lot of improvement in that area. We've gone to a lot of automation in the patrol cars that didn't exist before. We've also gotten the department nationally accredited, and that was quite a challenge. And basically just changing our operations to keep up with our growth has been big challenge.
Okay, and you just spoke on the growth. Obviously, Jonesboro is going to continue to grow. We're hitting this boom right now. So much so we just received the 2010 census and saw a huge increase in our population, big percentage. What does this type of growth mean for your department?
Well, there's several implications. Obviously, as much as the city's grown and apparently will continue to grow, it produces a lot of challenges for us to keep up with that demand for service. We have to change the way that we operate a lot of times just to adjust to keep up with that demand. The department has grown some during that time period, but we really haven't grown proportionately to that growth.
Sure.
If you look back, back to around 2005, and you look at that time period between 2005 and 2012, the city has experienced about a 12% growth. During that same time, we've managed to keep crime relatively stable. And, matter of fact, some of our more serious Part 1 violent crimes have actually gone down during that time period. But our call volume continues to rise each year, which presents additional challenges as we face it in the future.
Now, you just mentioned that call volume. What is that on an average basis, say, for 2011?
Well, it's been growing between 10 and maybe 20% a year back, over the last few years. Last year in 2011, we answered a little over 56,000 calls for service.
Ooh, wow, that is a lot of calls.
It is.
Let's talk about your recruiting and some things that you guys do. And speaking of that, what do you guys do for recruiting to attract the best possible candidates for positions?
Well, typically we'll have, unless we get a grant or add some position or something, we'll only have roughly 5 positions a year, and the competition for those 5 positions is pretty tough on its own. We generally have 120 applicants for each hiring cycle. We do 2 hiring cycles a year. Some of the things that we've done for the recruiting aspect of it is we advertise our recruiting efforts and testing requirements on our web continuously, our website, which is www.jonesboropolice.com. We also do community outreach to help recruit people. Probably the most effective thing that we've done is just individual recruiting from ASU. I've done a good bit of that. I'll try to identify someone in the criminal justice field that's really sharp and got good potential and recruit them into the department sometimes and usually through an internship.
Okay.
And I think we offer more internships than any government entity in town.
Yeah. I know y'all's process is a little different than, say, just a basic department here at the city. What are some of the things that your candidates have to go through? You mentioned testing.
Well, it's very challenging. I mean, and obviously, if you're going to put a weapon in somebody's hand, it needs to be a good vetting process. But there's a physical fitness test on the first day of the application process. That same day, there's a written test. After that, once an applicant makes it through those 2 things, there'll be a background investigation done, and I mean a thorough background investigation. Then a polygraph, a panel interview, and then ultimately they'll be recommended to my office for hire. So, we start off with 120 applicants for 5 positions, but by the time we get through that process, usually there's only 6 or 8 that are still viable.
It's a good process then, and it doesn't stop there. They still have to make it through the academy, correct?
Yep,
Which
there's
is another...
basically 6 months of academy training, and then after that there is 6 to 12 weeks of field training. We have about a 20% failure rate of academy and field training too, so it's tough.
Okay. Let's talk about the training as it pertains to your current officers and your current staff. I know that there's probably an ongoing regiment that you guys follow. What are some of these training things that you guys do?
Well, in our profession, in law enforcement, it is continually evolving. Case law changes, operational practices change. We have to change the way we do things to keep up with demand. And along with that, it requires us to be in a continuous training cycle. Our minimum requirement in the police department is 40 hours of in-service training for every officer in the department every year. We exceed that in almost every case. We'll have a considerable amount of specialized training for the different
Mm-hmm.
divisions, especially CID, DTF, SWAT, things like that.
Okay. So. You mentioned outreach just a second ago as a recruitment process for you guys. What other outreach activities do you guys participate in?
Well, we have our DARE program where we teach the DARE program in the public schools. We also have Shop with a Cop in December of each year. The Fraternal Order of Police does a fishing rodeo for the kids in the summer. We also have the Dare to Ride motorcycle event that raises money to support DARE, which is probably becoming one of our bigger events. And we're continuously going to the schools and putting on programs and different things like that.
Okay. From now moving forward, what does the future hold for the Jonesboro Police Department?
Well, given the economy and the economic impact it has on the city and the city's continual growth, the challenges that are presented to us are to figure out ways to use what resources we have in the best way, and it's getting more and more difficult, and we have to do things differently. As we look at the future, if the growth rate continues, we have to maintain our ability to deal with it at some level. So hopefully we'll get to that point where we can grow proportionately with our demand. Some of the things that are very challenging to us is we spoke earlier about that call volume being 56,000 calls per year. Well, what happens is the higher that call volume goes, the less time that officer in the field has to do proactive law enforcement and crime fighting things. So the more that call for service demand grows, the less time he has available to fight crime and be in the drug areas and do that proactive type policing. So when that shrinks, ultimately the results are a growth in those areas of crime. So it's a very challenging puzzle to put together.
Okay. Well, Chief, thank you so much for sitting down with us and kind of giving us an insight into your daily life with the police department.
It's different every day.
Yeah, absolutely. For more information, as he said, you can go to his website. It's www.jonesboropolice.com, or you can go to the city site at jonesboro.org, and then his site we have a link to his site on our site. Again, Chief, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and thank you guys for watching Channel 24.
Thank you.